reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. We are going to start our coverage of the Elder Scrolls Online and talk about the game, the metagame, the big stuff. So for those who don't know you, and anyone who played Dark Age of Camelot probably should, why don't you introduce yourself and tell people what your job is here on the team?
Sure. I'm Matt Firor. I'm the game director on Elder Scrolls Online at Zenimax Studios.
Awesome. So for people who haven't seen the coverage yet, what is Elder Scrolls Online about?
Well, it's about many things, but at its easiest concept, it's the Elder Scrolls with friends. It's the first Elder Scrolls game that's truly multiplayer, so it brings kind of the MMO world and the Elder Scrolls world and kind of puts them together in an online Elder Scrolls world.
So what aspects of Skyrim, which is probably the most recent, so most people probably know that, had a big hit on the Xbox and PC, what aspects of that do you think are thematically important to bring over to Elder Scrolls Online?
Yeah, and that question, it basically goes to the heart of what is an Elder Scrolls game, and that's so it's like Skyrim and Oblivion and Morrowind and all the others, and the fact that there's a lot of player choice. The class system is kind of very hazy because you get to make your character and then configure it basically how you want over time. Lots of choices. Every choice that you make basically leads you down the path of being different from all the other guys that make different choices. Quests have a lot of choice. You get to change the world in a bunch of different places in quests. So a lot of big things like that. Like I save a town from werewolves, and every time I go back to the town after that, the werewolves are gone and the townspeople thank me. Basically, you make a difference in the world. Also, our combat system is right out of the Oblivion and Skyrim PC control scheme, so it's mouse-based. You hold down the left click to power attack, right click to block. So we have a lot of things that people just sitting down, seeing the game, will see a game that looks like Elder Scrolls. The art style is very similar, and it plays like an Elder Scrolls game.
So while I know that everyone's Elder Scrolls game experience has been vastly different because there are so many different ways to approach the game, for me it was all about finding those little dungeons out in the world. And I know today I found the Dwemer dungeon in the starting area, and I had a lot of fun going in there. And that was the moment when I popped into the game, and I'm sitting there and I think, okay, this feels just like Skyrim in the best way possible. It scratched that itch perfectly. How important do you think those points of interest like that are to the game?
Well, that's another way that Elder Scrolls Online is an Elder Scrolls game that I didn't go to in the first answer. But yeah, it's we call it exploration-based content, but that's just a fancy term for I walk across the world and I find stuff. So there's a compass similar to the Skyrim one, and you look at the compass, and when you get close to something, it points you and says, "Hey, there's something over here. There's a dungeon. There's a quest. There's something to do." And even if you're on another quest and you go off and then you see there's something else there, you kind of want to veer over and look at it, and that's distraction. Because you don't have to finish the first quest. You can go over and do the dungeon, go in it, come out, go back to where you were. It's your choice. You get to do it the way you want.
That is going to be the bane of everybody who's distracted by Shiny's experience in the game. You talked about Skyrim with friends, Elder Scrolls with friends. Today you mentioned the mega server technology. Can you explain that to our viewers and what that means for their experience in the game?
Yeah, so mega server technology came about for one real reason, to solve the problem of MMOs at launch finding your friends. And as we all know, as MMO players, it's really hard to find friends at launch because you have to email your group, your guild. A guild leader has to get in and tell everyone to go to this shard, and someone always misses the message and creates a character on another shard. And then you have some of your guilds on one, some's on another, and someone has to make the choice to lose 2 or 3 days of game played time and move over to another shard, and that's just not good. I mean, so our mega server technology lets every character create a character. It doesn't matter, and then once you're in the system, you find your guild, you find your friends through normal social network type features.
And I also really found it interesting when you started to talk about the way in which the computer will automatically put you into those different instances. Can you go into a little bit of detail about that?
Yeah, there's two basic systems that allow you to do that. One is as you play, the mega server technology gets more intelligent about choices that you make, people that you group with, and starts to put you into spaces with people that you've already played, if they're there. And that's if you don't have a friends list, you haven't actually made any friends in that sense. But if you already have a friends list, like you imported it from Facebook, which we also support for just that reason, or you're in a guild, it will intelligently put you in spaces with other people that are in your guild or on your friends list. So it basically leads you to, after you played for a while, to where I log into the game and I click play and I know almost everyone that's in the zone that I'm in.
And what about any thoughts about bringing new people into that so that you get to know more people, so that you don't get pigeonholed into playing with the same people again and again and again?
Yeah, that's the second way of doing it, and that's where you can flag yourself kind of with attributes like I'm looking for a guild or I'm looking for a group, and basically you'll be able to find players that have flag themselves that way, so guilds can recruit that way. Or say, for example, I only want to play the game solo, which we support. You can flag yourself as saying, I'm really not interested in this whole social thing. I want to play this like any other Elder Scrolls game by myself. And you'll be able to essentially, you'll be in zones with other people, of course, and you'll be able to access all of the marketplace and things like that. But no one will harass you because they know that you're flagged as I want to play solo, and you'll be in zones with people that are the same way.
Mm-hmm. And if you do want to play solo, you also mentioned today the way in which you're going to deal with tagging or the lack thereof, so that solo experience doesn't get ruined by somebody going around and getting all the mobs. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, so that's part of the socialness of the game. Also extends to game systems. It's not just social networks and importing friends and mega server technology. It's also simple things like if you and I are approaching a monster from two different directions and we both start fighting it and we kill it, we both get rewarded. And we all know from all the other MMOs in the past, a lot of them were actually competing over it, and whoever kills it first gets the treasure, gets the experience, and one person always loses. We actually want to facilitate people getting together, and so in that scenario that we just laid out, the game would assume that we're grouped, because even though we're not technically grouped, because we both helped each other by defeating the monster, and we both get the full reward, and we both get full experience. And that goes to things like public dungeons that incent players to go into a space that's pretty dangerous and help each other just by fighting monsters together. And then eventually you're going to go, hey, let's just form a group, let's friend each other, and then there's your social network.
So, talking about social, you mentioned earlier today that social has been something that you've added to the game or had as part of your design philosophy from the very beginning. Why is it so important to include social aspects that aren't only in the game in designing the game?
Well, sadly, MMOs cannot exist in a vacuum anymore, because MMOs in the old days, they were social networks. In fact, they were among the first social networks out there where people could log in and they were friends and there was an internal email system. But now with Facebook and Google Plus and all of those, everyone has their social network now. They got it. And now it's up to developers like us that want to be social to make sure that we support your existing network. So that's why when you create an account, an Elder Scrolls Online account, there's just a button that says import Facebook friends. So all your friends who are in your network on Facebook, if they have accounts, they will automatically get populated your friends list. Because who wants to manage multiple social networks these days? You know, you want to make sure that you have one, it exists, and then you get to access it from different places.
So what are some of the ways in which you are branching out into social networks outside of the game?
Well, the Facebook integration that we just talked about. We're also looking at ways to do the same thing with Google+. There are also things like you can be in multiple guilds, so which takes the kind of circle concept from Google+, and now Facebook has it, of course. And that where you can be a member of multiple guilds at once, so you can be the hardcore raiding guild over here, and the PvP guild over here, and the office guild over here, and you can kind of maintain those networks separately.
Speaking of guilds and being in multiple guilds, any maximum amount of guilds that you can be in?
I'm not sure, but probably.
Well, it sure sounds like fun. I know I had a lot of fun playing the game today, getting to play for, gosh, it was near 5 or 6 hours today, so it was a blast. When you play on your own time, I know this probably changes all the time. What's your favorite thing to do in game? Are you a PvPer or PvEer, explorer?
Traditionally, I love it. I'm in the Bartle for I am the explorer, so I love to climb up mountains and find spaces that are hidden, and we've populated those areas with treasure chests. So if you really want to go off the map, we have a cool collection game, the Mages Guild, which is the Mages Guild from all the other Elder Scrolls game. There is, yes, a linked quest that tells a story about the Mages Guild that you can do, but the Mages Guild also gives you a quest that you do the entire time you're playing the game, which is find the lost lore about this crazy demon invasion that's happening in Tamriel. And so as you play through the game, if you go off the map or go into dungeons and go into the deep corners and go along the coastlines, you'll find books that the Mages Guild has lost for ages. And they basically have a pay you with status and promotion in the guild to bring them these books. So it's really incents the players like me who really want to go off and explore. It gives them cookie crumbs to find out there that they can then turn in and actually get something useful for it.
So of the stuff that you've announced right now and that you've talked about, what's your favorite class to play?
Class in our game, as you found out today by playing, is kind of amorphous because there are so many choices that you make that, you can be a Dragon Knight just like another Dragon Knight, but one can wear heavy armor and use a two-handed sword, and the other can be cloth armor and dual wield. And because it's basically you get to determine how you play your character through the weapons and the other choices that you make. So in that sense, I don't have a favorite class, but I try to play a bunch of different archetypes because you never know what you're going to find. There's a lot of emergent behavior with this, so I'm having a lot of fun playing right now with a two-handed as a sorcerer, which is traditionally a cloth-wearing class, but I play it in cloth, but with a two-handed sword. And it's funny to have things like the MMOs, a traditional spell is teleport 5 meters forwards and then teleport back, and casters do all that usually to escape monsters when they're running away. That's why it's there. But with the two-handed weapon, I can actually start away from the monsters out of the range, teleport in, hit them 5 times with the two-handed sword, and then teleport out. And it's like, we didn't design that, but that's just something that just happens when you get all of these different sandboxy type abilities.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I have to say I had a lot of fun today. Thank you very much for having us out, and can't wait to see more about the game.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's great to show it off.